this is something that always annoys me when people talk about history and World War II in specific with the Nazis and Adolf Hitler, is that they act like anti-Semitism just popped into existence in the 1930s in Germany. And it's like, no, like it's always been there. Like, it was there. Like, look at the history of the Catholic Church that we did a couple episodes ago, talking about how virulently anti-Semitic the Catholic Church was. That there was, pogrom after pogrom, punishing Jewish people and blaming them for their problems. But you could dodge that by saying, well, Germany is not known for its like Catholic population, is known for their Lutherans. Well, got you there too, because Martin Luther, just as anti-Semitic as the Catholic Church ever was. Martin Luther wrote a pamphlet called On the Jews and Their Lies. And this is like in the 1530s. And in this pamphlet, he describes what he thinks should be done with the Jewish population in Germany. And it goes a little something like this. Jewish people should be chased out of town. Their businesses should be burned down. And those who refuse to leave should be forced into labor camps. So with that alone, I'm going fascist. It sounds like a textbook guide to Kristallnacht. I will not entertain any other options, but I don't get the final say here. So we'll go to Seraphina. What is your choice for old Martin Luther here?
Yeah, I was gonna go conservative at first, but when I saw that he had like authoritarian tendencies, I was like, did I say that right? That he had like those types of tendencies, and I would probably lean more towards fascist. And plus, that quote that you just read about like put them in the labor camps and shit, that sounds like some shit that Francisco Franco would say. And
Yeah.
so I'm like, that's like some okay, cool. Not Francisco Franco.
No, Franco worked.
No.
Mussolini.
I was doing a whole history thing, and I was like, not Franco, Mussolini. That sounds like shit that Mussolini would have said, like verbatim. That sounds like something he would have said. And so, yeah, I'm going fascist on that one.
So let me give context that I'd never heard that quote before. So the context that I know Martin Luther in is his relationship to the Catholic Church, and in that story, he's the progressive.
He is.
It sounds really bad that we just said all of that about how he hates the Jews and wants to put them in labor camps. But he was the progressive at the time. So if we are labeling him compared to what we are now, we see where those beliefs led, and that was to the fascists. But he was kind of a liberal progressive at the time. Like he was like, hey, we shouldn't tithe these guys. That makes no sense. No, it wasn't the tithes. It was the
indulgences. Yeah,
the indulgences. Yeah, the Catholic Church has no authority to do these things. So I could see him being put. I would have put him in conservative because I would have been like, he's kind of like one of those right wing populists. That's where I would have put him. So and I don't think I don't know. Is it my turn to choose?
It's your turn. Yeah, it's your turn, John. This is not a democratic decision here. This is all on you.
You know what? Fuck it. I'm going to put him in conservative because at the time, everyone hated the Jews that much. That wasn't special. That wouldn't make him fascist. That was just made him a normal guy. Like this is prime Jew hating time. Like that's nothing special about it. Nothing right home about.
Just in case we get any emails, John is ethnically Jewish. He can say this, okay? All right. Just before anyone says anything, I want to make that very clear. John has a past to say stuff like that. I would never say this, but John is exploiting his ancestors to his heart's content. Yeah. I do have to say that it's funny because I agree with Martin Luther's critiques of the Catholic Church. Of course, I don't think any of it's real anyway, but wow, was he right on the indulgences thing. For those who wonder what indulgences were, it was money you gave the church to speed up your dead relative getting out of purgatory. And they had a song for it. They would walk around with this cup and say, once the coin in the coffer rings, the soul from purgatory springs. So it's like, pay me money and I'll make sure that your dad gets into heaven quicker. An amazing racket. Martin Luther said, all right, no, this isn't cool. You're stealing. That's not all right. But and at the time, the 1500s, nailing the 95 Theses to the church wall, churches were killing folk back then for doing that. So Martin Luther put his money where his mouth was. I got him credit there.
What was the name of the thing that you said that they were about the dead relatives in purgatory? I've never heard of that. What is that?
Oh, you know what? That might not be right, because an indulgence was money you paid to commit a sin. That was where
so I think it was both. I think they did.
Oh, it was both? Okay.
I think it kind of started as like the sin thing, and then they realized, but wait, what if we could do this for the
I know, right?
Which that'll make even more money.
I'm actually surprised it took the church so long to do the pay me to commit a sin thing, because it's right there, right? It's like, commit a sin and then ask me forgiveness and you're fine. It's only a hop, skip, and
that's what Elrond, he just took indulgences and fucking added science fiction to it and just put it into hyperdrive.
By
the way, shout out Miss Kerchowski for my world religion class. You're really coming in handy right now, because I did not have the time to prep for this, so I'm pulling a lot of shit out of 11th grade.
One thing I do have to commend the Protestants for is breaking from transubstantiation. What the fuck, Catholics? Catholics genuinely teach that the bread and the wine of communion literally turns into the blood and flesh of Jesus Christ. The guy dies for your sins 2,000 years ago.
Metaphorical. Not metaphorical. Is you believe that inside your body there is human literal flesh. You can't see it anymore. It's there.
It's there.
Wait, whoa. They think it's real? They think
it's real.
They think it turns into real human flesh and blood inside your body. Yes.
Seraphina, it sounds like hilarious and trivial and shit. People got killed over this. They fought wars. They fought wars.
Thousands.
It is like, I mean, you will see these just caustic polemics about, I can't believe he said that's not actually the blood and body of Christ. We need to raise an army. I mean, it is insanity. That I refer to this shit whenever people talk about, well, we need religion to really have this. No, fuck you. You don't know shit about religion. That's what you're thinking. But all right, we're running over time. But let's keep going here. Who's up? I think Jon is up first. All right. Henry VIII. Okay, I put Henry VIII here as I thought it was funny to put Henry VIII here because it's hilarious to me that Henry the fucking VIII started a religion. So Anglicanism, for those of you wondering which one it is. So Jon, what do you think?
I think it's a pretty clear and obvious libertarian pervert. Now, let me be clear. He doesn't think that everyone should have liberties. He believes he should have liberties to do whatever the fuck he wants. He literally made a religion to get laid, that so the Pope would bless his fucking marriage. He's like, you're not gonna do it? Fuck, I'm the Pope now. I make the religious rules. This is my church, and I get honestly, that is the most libertarian pervert thing I've ever fucking heard. I'm gonna make my own religion where I'm allowed to fuck whoever I want. That's what he did. That is libertarian pervert all the way.
Damn. You know what? So for those of you wondering what the story, I guess we didn't tell the story. What happened here is that Henry VIII was the second son of the king back in the 1500s. He had an older brother named Arthur, who was married to a Spanish princess or something. And his older brother died unexpectedly, in his 20s or something. And so, oh my God, we got to get Henry ready to be king now. The first step, marry your dead brother's widow. And so he married this lady, and they weren't having any kids, or they had 2 girls and no boys, and he was trying to have a boy and everything. So listen, I didn't choose to marry her, okay? I was forced into doing this. So Pope, can you grant me a divorce? The Pope said, no. Fuck you, not happening. And then he says, then he asked for annulment. Yeah, then he asked for an annulment. And he's like, well, I didn't agree to this. So technically his marriage never happened. He said, no, it's been too long. Can't get an annulment. So he's like, okay, how about if I start my own church? And then I'll grant myself the divorce. And that's exactly what he did. Church is still around today. And he made himself head of the church, and so the queen
people have devout religious belief, knowing that the church exists for this historical reason. Not a shadow of a doubt. They're still members of the goddamn church. It's insane to me.
We still have the court records of exactly how the religion started, right? Yeah.
They didn't pretend there was a religious reason for this. He didn't create some theological explanation for why this is the new church. He was pretty straight up about it.
And the funny thing is, we just talked about Martin Luther, 20 years before this, when Martin Luther came out with his correct criticisms of the Catholic Church, you know who was the first person to defend the Catholic Church? Henry VIII. Henry VIII wrote all these books, or not, but articles and statement saying how much the church was right. The church granted him the title Defender of the Faith, which makes it so much funnier that he's the one who started his church later on. I was gonna go with more fashy for Henry VIII because the pervert part is there. I mean, these were proper women. He married them. He didn't. They weren't floozies hanging around and everything. But he was like incredibly authoritarian. Like Henry VIII. You're right. He wanted the freedom for himself, but not necessarily for everybody else. So
that's how libertarians really are.
That is how libertarians rock. But I'm still rolling with fascists. Seraphina, you get the final say here. What do you think?
Yeah, my answer is definitely fascist. He was one of the only ones on this list that I was like, I know you, I know your work, and I know you ain't shit. Like,
I know your work.
And so, yeah.
I was familiar with your game. I'm not going to apologize for shit.
I'm familiar with your bullshit, and so I am aware that I would go full on fascist. I think he just wanted to do whatever the fuck he wanted with whoever the fuck he wanted. He didn't want anyone.
That's libertarian perversion.
I mean, yes.
Do whatever the fuck I want with whoever the fuck I want.
It totally is, but at the same time, he also wanted everyone else to follow whatever the fuck he wanted.
That's fair. That's the difference. That's where I don't know as much about him.
Yeah, that's the only reason why I was like, I'm gonna go with fascist on that because he went full on.
So I did kind of put you guys in a rock and a hard place situation here because there is very little daylight between fascists and libertarians in my experience. Very little. I just wanted the pervert thing. I just wanted to add that because I thought it would be funny. So yeah, that's where
it's just like it's the natural progression.
It is.
If you take anarcho-capitalist libertarianism, it's going to eventually devolve into fascism.
It will.
It has to. Just if might equals right, then it's going to be fascism eventually.
Okay. All right. So down to our last two here. Okay, we're going to go with Moses. And if you guys are wondering, yes, this is Moses from the Pixar film, The Prince of Egypt, is what I picked there for Moses. And
so many great depictions of Moses, and you went with that one.
Yeah, I thought it was the funniest one to me. And so I do love if you guys have not seen the film, The Prince of Egypt, I highly recommend it. It is very good. I like it a lot. So with Moses, like where would I see him, conservative, liberal? I gotta put Moses as conservative. I have a hard time putting him anywhere else. Like I don't see commie vibes from him. I mean, he did, want to free the slaves, but only because they were his people. It's not like
he didn't. Let's be clear. There were many other slaves in Egypt. He didn't give a shit about them.
Yeah, there's actually a great line in The Prince of Egypt when Aaron is talking to him. It's like, Moses, when did you start caring about slaves? Is when you found out that you were one of us? It's like, yeah, that's true. That's exactly when he started caring about slaves. He didn't give a fuck about it before then. And so, yeah, kind of a Johnny come lately to the morality thing. So, I think Moses had rules. That's just what he's known for. Rules that we have to follow, and this is the right thing, but didn't think too hard about the equality thing unless it directly affected him or his family members. What do you think, Seraphina?
I'm definitely going conservative. I'm looking at the notes that I made because I actually took this shit seriously and looked up this shit.
I love that so much.
And I saw they talked about him having kind of a mixed regime with equality and hierarchy as an ideal political framework. And so I was like, conservative. That sounds about right. And so that's where I would kind of put him.
So Moses is probably my favorite character in the Bible. When I was a kid, Moses was that was the story that I just connected with the most. Fucking loved the movie with
Charlton Heston.
Charlton Heston, yeah, the NRA guy. I knew so much about this shit. I remember when I went to Passover at my Jewish grandfather's house. And I knew all that shit. And his Jewish buddies were like, how do you know all of this stuff? And I was like, it's in my book too. we have the same book. But no, I like Moses. It's a great story. Way better than the Nativity, in my opinion. But yeah, no, as down the middle conservative as you can possibly get. Not quite a fascist, he's not enslaving people himself. But he doesn't particularly care if you enslave people as long as it ain't his people. That's pretty. He's very big rule follower. Very, very big conservative energy there.
I agree. So wait, with Moses like being your favorite story, there's like 7 Moses stories. Like, do you mean better than
The whole
exhibit?
arc, the whole Moses arc of the Bible is just.
Well, that's not a
wonderful.
fair comparison. You compared Moses like entire 120 years on Earth to the nativity story. That's not a fair story.
Okay, you can compare him straight to Jesus, like
Just to Jesus. Okay.
like the whole Jesus arc. Like, it's a good arc. Don't get me wrong; it got its own book, But like, it just isn't. It doesn't have the je ne sais quoi. I think what makes Moses more interesting of a character is that he's human. Like Jesus, he's a deity. It kind of makes it. It makes it a little less provoking of a narrative to me. And like Moses has to, fight with the commandments. My other thing about the story that I just find very, very funny is that like Ramses didn't relent sooner. Because like if I was Ramses, I would have relented after like number 2, maybe number 3 if I was being stubborn. I can't believe that like he went to 10. Like that's insane. Like it's just like I would have been like, fuck, like 10% of my slaves? Yeah, sure, just go. Just get the fucking locusts out of here. You gotta respect Ramses too. That's it has a better antagonist. Like who's the antagonist of Jesus? Like, fucking Pontius Pilate. He doesn't even show up to the fucking last bit to the climax. Like there's no narrative arc here. It's just whatever.
Just Pilate. Yeah. Well, I mean, Seraphina, I'm sure you were thinking this, that it wasn't Pharaoh's fault, according to the Bible.
No.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't. Oh my God, that pisses me off so much.
Yeah. In the Bible, it says that God hardened Pharaoh's heart. It wasn't up to Pharaoh. Like God wanted to show off a little more. Yeah, God wanted to do that.
It wasn't even, he had nothing to do with it. It wasn't even really Moses either. It was literally all God. It was God that wanted this shit. And it was God who decided to harden the Pharaoh's heart. It was God who decided to force Moses to go and talk to the Pharaoh to begin with. And I recently found out, because whenever you're reading like the story and everything, you think that like, oh, he hardened the Pharaoh's heart like in the midst of like the plagues and shit. I recently found out that he decided to harden the Pharaoh's heart like before Moses even left to go talk to the Pharaoh.
Damn.
He told him way back then. He was like, before you leave, I'm gonna harden the Pharaoh's heart, so he's not gonna listen to you anyway. And I'm like,
Moses, I'm gonna murder all of these children.
Yes,
I'm gonna send my a literal angel of death to murder innocent children, and it's not even gonna matter because I'm gonna send Ramses after you anyway, and you're gonna drown him.
Moses,
and none of this matters.
Moses was playing on easy mode the entire time. Yeah, don't worry, I got taken care of and everything. And so. Kenneth says, I believe Moses got screwed over around the end of his life. I wish they added that in the movie. So I think I know what Kenneth is talking about.
He never made it to the land of milk and honey.
He never made it. He never made it. All the shit Moses went through. And you know why he didn't make it, folks? Here's why. Because God, the Israelites were asking, or the Hebrews at the time, the Hebrews were asking for water. They were watching the desert and they were thirsty. How dare they?
Because even after all of this, they still had to wander the fucking desert.
They still had to wander the desert. And by the way, look, Dick, pull up a map sometime and look at the distance between Egypt and Israel. 6-day walk, maybe. Yeah. It is a short fucking trip. And it was 40 days of wandering around the Sinai, or 40 years around the Sinai Peninsula.
In the South of Egypt, they're in the fucking capital.
Yeah, And so they're wandering in the desert because God won't let them in, and they're thirsty. And so God says, okay, here, Moses, I want you to go to this rock in this ravine somewhere, and I want you to hit the rock, and then I want you to talk to it. And after you talk to the rock, the rock will break open and there'll be plenty of water for people to drink. So Moses, who's been wandering, by the way, like 40 years in the desert now, he's tired, he's exhausted. The people keep complaining. They want to worship other gods. And he's like, okay, his wife is mad at him for circumcising the 13-year-old son. Like, he's got a lot going on, right? So Moses hits the rock, but he hits the rock again. God told him not to do it. God gave him the water and said, I will kill you for this. And the God says, yep, sorry, you don't get to see the promised land because you hit the rock one too many times. And he died. And he's like, yeah, you can see it. I'm going to tease you. I'm going to fucking mock you before.
Of it, but he never could go there.
Yeah. Listen, God is
land that you're never going to fucking see.
Yep.
Old Testament God is such a dickhead.
He's a prick, man.
Oh my God.
He's such a dick. And the only good thing about Old Testament God versus New Testament God is that Old Testament God didn't have a hell. Like once he killed you, he was done with you. Like you don't suffer for eternity in Old Testament God. That's a gentle Jesus, meek and mild is when the hell comes along. Okay, all right. So let's go to the last one here. Oh, Abraham. We're back to the Old Testament. I think we're starting with me this time. Where I would put Abraham. This one is a tough one for me because Abraham never really like ran a government or anything. Like he didn't really even run a religion. He just happens to be the patriarch of the three major religions on earth. So I don't know exactly where I put him politically, but I do know he was a pervert, and I'll tell you why. Abraham, folks, was married to his sister. Yep, the founder of the three major monotheistic religions is married to his sister, and there's a hilarious.
Again, this isn't some like hidden storyline.
No,
this is very clearly
this is known in the book.
And there is a hilarious story in the book of Genesis when Abraham and his wife Sarah, at the time Abram and Sarai, they changed names a lot back then, but they go they're traveling through Egypt.
Like 300 years, so
yeah. So yeah, they're traveling through Egypt, and Abraham was married to Sarai, and she was apparently so banging hot that he knew. He's like, wow. People are going to try to take her away from me because that's something that happened, I guess, every other week or something. He's like, the Pharaoh is going to see her and he's going to want her for himself. And if he knows I'm married to her, he's going to kill me so he can get my wife. So check this out. When you meet Pharaoh, tell him you're my sister, not my wife. And the weird thing is, like, they make a big deal about it, but it was true. She was his sister. Like, that's not even a lie. And so then, of course, Pharaoh says, oh, you have a hot sister. Well, I'm going to take her into my harem and be one of my wives. Yeah. And then God punishes Pharaoh. God punishes Pharaoh for marrying this single woman, this woman that he thought was single. And then he says, well, why didn't you tell me she was your wife? He's like, oh, I don't know. Whole plot point about it. So yeah, they don't try to hide it. Guy was banging his sister for decades, definitely going in libertarian pervert part.
And chopping little babies' dicks off, like,
right.
That's a thing that he did that was very important to him.
The important thing. Off. All right, John, what do you think? Where would you put him?
Yeah, I'd have to that's the thing. He doesn't really have ideology.
Yeah,
like, he just did whatever God told him. But there was a lot of perverted shit. So like, libertarians don't like doing what they're told. So, but pervert. I would put him in conservative probably just because like there's nothing very like strong. Like he's just kind of like, yeah, I'm gonna go along with that. Whatever the dude in charge says. If he's a fascist, then he's at the bottom tier of the fascism. Like he's not trying to take charge. He's just going along with it. Like that, he was gonna murder his own son. And then, like, that dickhead God was just like, yo, bro, I'm just kidding.
Like, nah, tell you not
I can't believe you actually went along with this, you idiot. You're going to murder your own child.
Yeah.
That's the picture, by the way. It's a picture of him holding a knife over Isaac's body. So, yeah. What do you think, Seraphina?
Gotta love that. So, when I did my notes on this, I actually did Abraham Lincoln, which I don't know why I decided to do.
You're like, Abraham, with all religions, must be Lincoln.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know why TJ included this guy. Kind of a weird...
Yo, we missed Isaac Newton, TJ. We got his son.
Holy shit,
that's so funny. I've laughed more on this episode than like I have in a long time. I really like this.
I thought, I don't know. It didn't in my brain that was what we were talking about, but I would probably default and say conservative because that kind of seems like the best place to put him, just at what we're looking at. But yeah, not Abraham Lincoln.
Sounds good. All right, folks. Well, I think that will wrap it up here. We ran a little long. These always go longer than we think because they are just so much fun. Like I do love them so much. But all right, let's put this bad boy to bed. Seraphina, where? Oh, wait, John, I forgot.
Yes, TJ, you're going all out of order here.
Yeah, I know.
I'm the one who says, if you guys enjoyed watching this video, because I don't know, we talked a lot about libertarian perverts, or we're basically going to hell in every religion now. And if you want to join us, you want to join Seraphina, where can they hear more sacrilegious content from you, Seraphina?
Yes. So I am on TikTok at the Devil's Daughter 162. I'm also on Blue Sky at that same also on YouTube at that same and I post content on all three of them. Mostly on TikTok, a little bit on Blue Sky, and sometimes on YouTube. But those are like the main ones that I'm on.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Seraphina. Folks, we really enjoyed your interaction with us and joining us for another episode. Please free to check out The Left Wing. Watch us. We are on every Tuesday and every Thursday evening. You'll grow to love us. We are not libertarians, but we are perverts. We'll catch you guys later. Have a good time. All right. Good game, folks. Good game.